Hello everyone, and welcome to our second attempt to look at the Lord's Prayer. And of course the line for today is the second part of the Lord's Prayer. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So two parts, the kingdom and also God's will. We recite this every week, and I think sometimes we just don't stop to consider just what exactly it is we're saying. Thy kingdom come. The theme of the kingdom is prominent. In fact, one would say it's dominant, certainly in the New Testament. And yet, how many of us think about that theme from day to day? I said on Sunday that Jesus reigns in the hearts of his people, wherever they are, geographically or historically. The kingdom is not a national entity or a political entity. It's not limited to one place, one moment in time. It's through time. And it's a growing and developing thing. If we think of the analogy that Jesus gave himself in one of the parables of a tiny seed that grows into a great plant that develops and grows and bears fruit. That is the kingdom. A seed, the plant, and then the fruit. It's a developing thing in time, in space. And it's where God's reign is when individuals and human beings open their hearts to who he is and what he is about. But these words, thy kingdom come, down throughout the ages, depending on what's been happening at the time, have sometimes been a lament. When is the kingdom going to come? Oh Lord, how long, to use the psalmist's words. And at other times it's been a heartfelt petition, particularly through very dark periods when the world seemed to be incredibly troubled and everything that people had known and taken for granted seemed to be coming to an end. And my goodness, throughout history there have been so many traumas and so many upsets. And we're going through a pandemic, yes, but when you put it into historical perspective, we've been through far worse before. Many cultures have, many people have. And this prayer, thy kingdom come, has been heartfelt. And it's about waiting and watching. It's about longing and hoping for God's kingdom to come in all its fullness. What Jesus has started, the Holy Spirit has developed down throughout the centuries. And we're part of that ongoing process, that movement. But the kingdom is not here in its completion yet. And therefore, we groan in expectation. We long for a fulfillment and a culmination of all things. When things are good for us, we don't think about this. We get on with our lives. And yet for many people, many of our brothers and sisters throughout the centuries who've been through the wars, through the battles and the strife and the clamour of human vanity and arrogance, then thy kingdom come is a heartfelt plea out of the midst of all that. And the other side of the coin from God's kingdom is God's will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. We forget that too. I don't know about you, but I've lost count of the times over the years when people have said to me, usually in reference to something in the news, how could God have allowed that to happen? Or alternatively, some religious people say, well, these things, it must be God's will. But this prayer reminds us not everything that happens here is God's will. Often it's the opposite, in fact. And therefore this prayer really is powerful because it's acknowledging the state of affairs that we're in, the reality of the human condition. But it's acknowledging too that God has started something in the midst of that human condition for the good and for the better. It also means we can't see God as a chess master, sitting before the board, and he moves the pieces around according to his will and plan. And the pieces don't have any say in it. They're just moved by the master. God doesn't fix events. He doesn't move it just any way he wants. He's working in and with and through his creation. So instead of the metaphor of the chessboard and the chess master, this is the irony, because sometimes people say, well, why didn't God just interfere and do something? What, and override the fact that he's given freedom and autonomy to creation and to human beings? Well, if he did it once, he'd have to do it again and again and again, and eventually you would end up with God as a chess master. But a better illustration would be coming from Iran, where a father who was a skilled carpet maker in teaching his son how to make the carpets and to weave the pattern into the carpet would start at one end and his son would start at the other. And what the master carpet maker would do is watch what his son was doing, and he would blend in with that. So in other words, he worked together with his son to make the final product. That's a wonderful illustration. God works in and with and through human beings. And he wants to establish more and more of his love and his goodness in the world. But he has to work with us. Not overriding us, but working in us and through us. So this prayer is not just for us to say and leave it with God to do. It's our response to, in a sense, open our hearts to these things and ask, what can we do to bring God's kingdom? What can we do to establish something of his will here on earth? That's a profound thought. Let's think about that over the next week. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.